Yeah, tonight we're going to talk about the October 2004 official LSAT, and until 6 o'clock we're going to do Q&A. So now is the time to ask your questions about whatever you want to talk about. You know, not about this test, but we can talk about old tests, we can talk about additional logic games, we can talk about quizzes, we can talk about whatever you all want to talk about. Kitty?
I was reading online that about applications, you can call the school and ask for a fee waiver for the application fee. Do you know anything about how that works?
The question is, what's up with the fee waivers? So on your checklist of things to do when you apply to law school, I put apply for the LSAC fee waiver. And I really think anybody who thinks they have any kind of a credible case for getting a need-based fee waiver should apply. The LSAC fee waiver gets you a lot of stuff. It gets you the LSAT for free. It gets you the credential assembly service for free. It gets you a certain number of applications to schools for free. And the big bonus is a lot of schools will actually accept the LSAC fee waiver as evidence that you deserve to apply to their school for free. So applying for the LSAC fee waiver is worth at least a few $100s because of getting the free LSAT and the free credential assembly service and all that stuff. But it's worth potentially thousands of dollars because all the other schools will accept that fee waiver, or lots will. Okay? So, and by the way, if a school allows you to apply to their school for free, as long as it's not any additional work, you should apply to the school. I mean, it'd be silly not to. What's the worst that could happen? They don't admit you? Who cares? What's the second worst that could happen? They admit you, and then you have to turn them down? Or they admit you and give you a scholarship offer, and then you have to turn them down? I mean, if that's the worst case, that's a pretty good worst case.
Is that just based on like your current income, or whether or not you're dependent?
I actually haven't even looked at that application. I'm sure it's something. What, does somebody know?
Yeah, it's your current income.
Your current income is what the LSAC fee waiver thing is?
Under 24, that'd be your parents.
Yeah, do you have, what if you're too young, does it go on your parents? Okay, anyways, go to the LSAC website, get that fee waiver application, take a look at it. If you think you have any kind of a chance, you should probably fill it out and submit it because it could be worth a lot. Yeah?
And also with that, if you've already paid for the LSAT and then you get awarded for the LSAC, they'll refund it.
Okay, so they'll actually refund it retroactively. If you've already paid for the LSATs, you can apply for the fee waiver still, and if you win, you'll get it refunded. I don't know how hard it is to get the fee waiver, but I've had plenty of students who've gotten the fee waiver before, and it turns out to be worth a lot of money, so you should probably give it a shot. I think it would easily pay for your LSAT class if you got that fee waiver. What else? Yeah?
Do you see any benefit to showing up on Saturday for the in-class or the proctored exam, or is it just the same to do it at home?
Oh, well, it depends on who you are. The question is it worth it to show up for the proctored practice tests that I give? Some people get really nervous when they have to sit down and do the test under time conditions. Other people find that it helps them to actually get their homework done if they have to show up at a certain time and do the test with everybody else. So you'll know yourself best. Depends how you did on the first night of class. That was a proctored practice test where you had to sit in the same room as everybody else and do the test. Some people just freak out. I mean, some people do way worse when they have to sit in a big room. And so if that's you, then you should go because you need to expose yourself to...
So if you didn't see a big difference between like the test that we just took and the night that we did it in class, that could be safe to say that you're not freaked out?
Well, that's a very small sample. Yeah. So it depends on how you have done historically on practice tests, you know, historically on standardized tests. How'd you do it? Did you get panic on the SAT? Have you taken any other of those kinds of tests? Have you panicked before? Basically, I just tell people if you're around, you should do it. Okay? If you're going to go to Tahoe for the weekend, don't cancel your trip to Tahoe just so you can come do that practice test. You can do the practice test on your own. But if you're around, you might as well do it because you're going to be spending the time doing it anyway. So come and do it with everybody else. What else? Yep.
So I've talked to some attorneys, and they're like, when you're studying for the LSAT, sometimes it's I guess it probably, I don't know if it depends on you individually, but like what is the maximum time do you think that a person should spend like just studying? Like some people spend like 3 hours and then they say like spend 3 hours, take a break, or just spend 3 hours a day, or does it just really depend on you?
Question is, how much time should you spend studying for the LSAT on any given day or at any one sitting? It really does depend on who you are. I don't think I could sit for 3 hours and still be productive at the end of that 3 hours. I believe in really in small bursts of quality effort done all the time, like every single day. Sit down and work on the LSAT. And if you can just make yourself sit down every single day for a little bit, hey, maybe you'll find that you're actually enjoying it, God forbid, and you'll work for a while and have energy to keep working for a while, and that's great. But what I wouldn't do is have you practicing when you're feeling bummed out and depressed and stressed and tired and hungry. Like, that's not the time to be practicing, because then you're sort of reinforcing how much you hate the test. And I want you to do the exact opposite of that, right? Practice succeeding on the test. So short bursts. I always just tell everybody, do something every day and try to do it with a smile on your face. And if you can do that, I know you're going to improve. I've had students who in my very first LSAT class, I had students who were doing, in the weeks leading up to the test, they were doing 2 full-length practice tests every single day. And I thought that was just insane. But it worked for them. And if they had the energy to do it, then fine, do it. But if you don't have the energy, I could never do that. I'm more like, okay, I'm going to do an hour. And if I can do an hour, if I do more than that, that's great. But if I run out of gas after my hour, okay, then I'll go do something else. I'll come back to it when I've got the energy to do it.
So when we do our self-proctors, we should do it like we're taking the LSAT, right?
What do you mean?
Like 35 minutes each section, so 35 minutes, and then like we did in class.
Yeah, when you're going to, yes, the best way to practice for the LSAT is to do the LSAT. And the LSAT is a timed test. So I want you to put 35 minutes on the clock. I want you to do a section. Now, when the 35 minutes is up, you can take as much time as you want to finish the section. You can take as much time as you want to review it. You should review it. For God's sake, you should try to figure out why you missed the ones you missed. I mean, that's almost the most common stupid thing that I see students do, is they just do practice tests without reviewing the ones they missed. And they don't review the ones they guessed right on either. So then you don't learn anything. So yeah, a 35, I think that's the goal. Sit down for 35 minutes and do a section. Then take an hour or 2, however long you need, to review that section. That's studying for the LSAT.
Instead of going 35, and then like we did in class, 35, and that's
well, that's fine too. If you want to do a 35-minute section and another 35-minute section and another 35-minute section and another 35-minute section, do the whole test, that's fine. But then you need to review all 4 of those sections. Not just the ones you missed. Review the ones you guessed right on as well. As you do the test, circle the ones that you guessed on so that you can review the ones where you just got lucky, as well as the ones you missed. Yeah?
Other than complete tests, do you know of any resources that are just logic games? You can just do a bunch of logic games?
There are books out there that are just logic games.
Are they actual games or just ones that you know that?
You'll have to see if they have the LSAC licensing language in the front of the book or in the back of the book. But you can also just get books of tests and just only do the games, right? I've had students buy all of those, 10 actual official LSATs, next 10 actual official LSATs, 10 more actual official LSATs. Those books are $19 a piece. Or you can get them used, but then they're probably written on. And then just do the games out of those. I did that. I had a bunch of tests and I just did the games. So that's, yeah, they're out there. And I really recommend, especially if you're having a hard time with the games, you need to do more games. And if you want more help with the games, bring them to class. We've got this Q&A period. I'm happy to talk to you about any actual LSAT question in the history of the test. So the more questions you ask me, the more help you're going to get. Yeah.
Do you have a connection with San Francisco State, like if we want to use their library? Because I know they have 24-hour library.
I have no connection to San Francisco State facilities. No. But ask them. I mean, if they know you're studying for the LSAT, maybe they'll let you in.
The library on the main campus,
Yes.
you don't need a card or anything. They just have big study rooms.
But after 12 a.m., you need an ID, like you have to check in to make sure they keep labs.
Oh, I don't know. I don't go that late.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm there that late, so. Yeah.
I doubt it though. They're just big tables set up.
They kicked us out of there.
Really? That sucks.
They actually come get you at the table and they're like, hi, we need your ID, we need your ID. And people start.
The question is, if I finish a section early, can I go to the next one, or do I have to wait? You have to wait. Yeah, so look at your test. Do you see the big numbers at the top of the page? Those big numbers are the section numbers, and that's actually what the proctors will look for as they walk around the room. So if they see you even looking at the wrong section, you would be in danger of them taking your whole test away from you and giving you a no score and potentially black mark on your record. So yeah, no, you actually have to just sit there until the section's over. Questions, comments? What else is on your mind? Yeah.
For the real LSAT, we do 4 sections straight.
On the real LSAT, you're going to do 3 sections straight, then a break, then the 2 more multiple choice sections, then I don't think a break. They just collect the Scantron sheets and they hand out the writing sample sheets. And then you do the writing sample 35 minutes. So it's 3 times 35 minutes, a break, then 3 more times 35 minutes and a break. Of course, the last one, that writing sample, that shouldn't be stressful for anybody. That's just do your best for 35 minutes and no one's ever going to read it.
So what is the point of that? Like does anybody see it? Does it go into your?
I'll talk about the writing sample, not tonight, but a later night. It's handwritten in pencil at the end of a really, really long test. And I think that admissions people know that it's not a good sample of your writing. They probably don't even read it, most people. Most applications, they're not going to read it. But I will do 15 minutes on it later on.
What was the fifth section you listed?
So there's 5 sections because one of the sections is unscored. One of the sections is an experimental section. It is an additional section of logic games or logical reasoning or reading comprehension. And you won't know which one is the experimental section while you're taking the test. They're just testing out future questions for use on later tests. Yeah. And don't even try, because you can't tell which section is the experimental section.
Does everybody get a different test during the LSAT, or is it all the same? Like it's the October.
The question is, does everybody get a different test or is it all the same? Well, everybody gets the same scored questions, but the sections will be in different order. So you could actually be sitting next to a person who's doing reading comprehension while you're doing logic games. But the same 4 sections are going to count. So it shouldn't really matter what order they came in. Yep.
I'm a little concerned about variance of personal statement prompts
Okay.
in different schools.
Okay.
Because if I'm going to apply 30 of them,
Yep.
and they're all like in different places, and they're asking me why I want to go to their school,
Yep.
I assume I can't say the same thing.
The question is, I'm concerned about how personal statement prompts differ, and if I'm going to apply to 30 schools, like you keep yelling at me to apply to 30 different schools, that seems like an awful lot of work. I would recommend that you make your personal statement about you and why you want to go to law school, period, and don't customize it to the schools you're going to apply to. Don't ever mention them. Especially don't do that cheesy thing where in the last paragraph you put, and for the foregoing reasons, that's why I really want to go to, and then it's like even in a different voice. It's like, University of San Francisco, and just plug it in there. That's the worst thing. And don't think you can get away, don't think you can do it better than other people too, because I've seen a million personal statements and it's so obvious whenever somebody does that. It's just the worst thing in the world. And also don't go to their website and pick up one program in their school and then throw that in there and make it look like you know all about their school, because that's super cheesy too and obvious. Just don't even do it. I would write one personal statement and I would submit it to all the schools. Now, if a school is super demanding and their prompt is like really different, then I would actually consider not applying to that school, unless you really, really wanted to go there. I mean, the point of the Credential Assembly Service is to make it easy for everybody to apply to lots of law schools. That's the whole service that you're paying for, right? So if a law school is going to get all finicky and have an application that doesn't really fit with the Credential Assembly Service, I might just say, F you, I'm not going to apply to your school. If it's your really one dream school, then by all means, maybe you write two personal statements, one for your dream school and one for everybody else. But then that's about as far as I would go with it. Yeah.
Other than looking at scores and GPAs for target schools, how else do you decide which schools you should be applying?
The question is, aside from looking at scores, LSAT scores and GPAs and figuring out what kinds of schools you have a chance at, how do you figure out what law schools to apply to? You know, I think geography has to be a huge part of it, a huge part of it. There are 15 law schools that you can go to those schools, and then, you know, Harvard, Stanford, Yale, you can go to those schools and you can work anywhere in the world. Underneath that, you probably are going to end up working wherever you go to law school. I mean, it's just highly likely that you're going to end up having a network of people that is around UC Hastings, right? You're not going to probably go to UC Hastings and then end up going and getting a job in North Carolina. It happens, but not that frequently. So if you have any geographical ties that matter to you, you should probably be concentrating most of your applications around the place where you actually want to live and work. So that's one huge concern. Beyond that, I think I would look at LSAT score, GPA, am I a good candidate for these schools, and I would apply to a bunch of schools that are kind of right in your wheelhouse. I wouldn't apply to a lot of safety schools, and I wouldn't apply to a whole lot of really reach schools. I would apply to a few reach schools and then a whole bunch of them where you know you're a good candidate. Because the whole bunch where you know you're a good candidate are likely to admit you, and they're likely to give you scholarships, and then you're likely to be able to renegotiate and get better scholarship offers and kind of move yourself up the ladder. And that's how I would do it. I would apply to 30 wheelhouse schools. The safety school bullshit, do you really want to go to a safety school? You want to pay 150 grand to go to a safety school? I don't think you do. I think you want to apply to a good school that you actually would want to go to. I've had students call me, you know, well, I only applied to 4 schools and I applied kind of late and I didn't get into the schools I really wanted to go to, but I got into school X. And, you know, I don't really want to do it, but hey, I got to get on with my life, and they're the ones that admitted me, so I think I'm just going to go there. And it's like, are you nuts? Is that really what you want to do? You're going to end up, you know, you could just spend another year waiting to go to school and reapply. Why the hell would you rush into a school where you're going to be for 3 years and have it on your resume forever if you're not going to be happy with that school? Does that make sense? Okay.
Back to the personal statement, I was reading somewhere like they say it's kind of cheesy to start with the opening paragraph, like, you know, with the story, like there was this little girl that da da da. Is that kind of whack?
Well, I mean, so that's, for one thing, that you just were talking about yourself in the third person.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I would.
Like I read like there was a bunch of personal statements. I don't know if it was some book, and it's like a lot of people start off with a story.
I think a story.
That girl was me. And it was
No, that's yeah, that girl was me. No, obviously don't do that. That's, come on. No.
How would you start off your personal statement?
The personal statement should basically say, I want to go to law school because blank, I will be a good candidate, or I will be a great lawyer because blank. Okay? Say those two things as clearly and as kind of humbly as you can, and you're going to be fine. That's, I mean, and by the way, if you don't know why you want to go to law school, you shouldn't even be applying. I mean, seriously, if you can't write a personal statement that says, here's why I want to go to law school and here's why I would be good at it, then you shouldn't go to law school. You're just throwing money away because you don't know enough about law, you don't know enough about law school, you haven't done your due diligence yet. So that's what it should say. It should be in the first person. And, you know, they tell you not to tell them what you think they want to hear, but I say, no, tell them what they want to hear. You really should. Because if they're reading your personal statement, they already want you to go to their school. So you should just kind of be humble, be straightforward, don't get too fancy, don't get all avant-garde and creative. Now, if you have a 160 and you're applying to Harvard, you better like blow them away, right? Knock their socks off. But if you have a 160 and you're applying to most schools that usually accept 160 kinds of people, you don't need to be special. They're going to admit 200 of you, so you don't need to blow them away. Just show them that you're responsible and smart and you know what you're doing. You've actually considered that you want to go to law school. You're not going to drop out after the first semester. And it's going to work. It's going to be fine. It's a necessary condition, not a sufficient condition, okay? The personal statement and the legislative recommendation. It's a necessary condition, not a sufficient condition. It's probably not going to get you in, but it damn well could keep you out. And if you get too crazy on the personal statement, they're going to go, this person is nuts. Let's get someone who's more mature and responsible. Yeah?
How long does your LSAT score last? Like, for instance, if I take the test and I want to go overseas and play basketball for a few years or whatever, how long does it last?
Question is, how long does your LSAT score last? And as of last time I checked, it was 5 years.
Okay.
Lasts for a long time. So get it done as soon as possible, no matter when you're going to apply to law school. Get it done sooner rather than later. Get a great score. And then, yeah, take all the time in the world to figure out whether you want to actually even apply to law school.
Yeah, no,
And take your time. You're going to travel now. You're going to do other things, do it now. Once you start going down the path of law school, you know, the loans start racking up and you just got no choice but to finish and start working.
I just have you to know that I might be going overseas to play basketball, and I want to take these after. I mean, I can't play basketball ever. So.
Right. Yeah. Get the LSAT done now, and law school will wait. All right. October 2004 official LSAT